Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train Your Dragon podcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is,
Wolf.
and today an episode which Wolf will probably have more fun and stuff to talk to than I do, because we are asking the question: what if How to Train Your Dragon was an anime? Yeah, we're going in that direction. But hey, a lot of people like anime. Actually,
Hi.
hmm, maybe we should just start with this. Like, what are our experiences with anime? Like, just so people know where we're coming from.
Hmm.
Wolf,
Well,
you're
you
a
go
big anime
first.
fan.
You go first, since you probably have less experience with it than I do.
Mm, Okay. I don't watch a lot of anime. Not necessarily something against it. I just don't watch a lot of TV anyway these days. So with anime, I'm also one of those people that I can't really stand English dubbings. So I have to look for the original Japanese one with subtitles, and it's something that's not always easy to find.
Hmm.
I know of several ways to watch it Japanese with subtitles, but I don't always have the time or all the ways to do so. But in terms of animes, I watched all three Astro Boy animes. I guess you could say the 2003 Astro Boy is my favorite. Being a Sonic fan, I watched Sonic X. It's fine. That's all I'll say about that. Um, I saw the first season of Attack on Titan. I enjoyed that one. I watched some Dragon Ball Z and GT as a kid, and unpopular opinion, I never liked Dragon Ball. In fact, I don't. I would even say I'm not a fan. I kind of hate it because for personal reasons we might get into it later on. In terms of other animes I watched, and not a lot. Like I started watching something on Netflix. I don't remember what it was called. Like there was this girl who died, and then her ghost starts hunting a childhood friend or something. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I might. I need to look it up.
But anyway, I have nothing against anime. If anything, I very appreciative of what it's achieving and how big of an impact it has on animation and stuff. But at the same time, actually, if you're one of those people that count Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra as anime and Ruby, I watch those. One of them I have to thank my co-host here. But that's my
Hello again.
experience with anime. I'm I'm not a big fan, but what I see, I like for the most part.
There's so many weebs crying out at the fact that you've not watched any what is considered to be classic anime. So many weebs
Well,
crying out right now.
I'm crying a lot about other stuff people missed myself. So you can't win it all, people. And just because I didn't watch it doesn't mean it's not good or that you can't like it. Like it, enjoy it. I just never got to the point of watching it. And one of my best friends is an anime nut as well. He knows this. He's not mad. So don't be mad, please.
Yeah, be mad. Yell at HC in the comments below. He deserves it, I'm
Yeah.
sure. For something. So it's okay.
How dare you not watch TV?
I guess going into it, right? Like, I definitely have more experience with anime than HC does. I've definitely watched some more of the classics, like, you know, um, mind blanks there for a second. Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, Full Metal Alchemist, and Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo. Oh, is Rurouni Kenshin considered a classic anime? I enjoyed it, but I don't know if it's considered a classic that you should watch. And I know Death Note's not one I've watched. I know people get upset about that. Evangelion, however you wish to pronounce it, is divisive in terms of what is considered classic or not. I don't really know. Still haven't watched that one myself personally yet. Need to get around to it. Haven't, but yeah, I'm one of those in between weebs. Like I've watched some classic anime, not all classic anime, but I've definitely. anime for me is definitely a genre of a type of show that I love to experiment with when it comes to watching. And I've very, very much I was someone who when I was younger more or less only watched shonen anime because that's really all I saw for anime was just action stuff. That's all I really cared about from anime, and that's all I really saw for anime and what it was. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely seen that there's a lot of anime out there, like some of the ones that you might get brought up during this very episode, that experiment a lot more than say some Western shows do, and it's very interesting to see that and to watch that and to you know and to get into it. And a lot of them are very enjoyable and very interesting and fun to watch because of that experimentation. So anime for me is definitely one of those types of show, like that entire genre that I can just get into and experiment with in terms of what do I like to watch normally, what can I find that's vastly different from that might be good. There's a lot of bad out there, but there is some definitely like solid gems in the mix that are worth the time.
Simon, before we move on, should we mention the infamous marketing line regarding anime fans?
Go for it.
Let's say I think some of my views, as well as how I will describe anime as we go on in this episode, will make some anime fans cry like anime fans on prom night. If I may add, this marketing line is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, and whoever came up with it should be hanged. But that's another story. Anyway, we are a How to Train Dragon podcast, so how would you, outside of being made in Japan, what changes would you make for a How to Train Dragon anime? Like, you are in charge of adapting How to Train Dragon to Japanese market. What would you do, Wolf?
Here's where I say I have no clue.
Wow, you have no clue.
Here's the thing, right, with anime, I feel a lot of the times, I think looking at what I know of anime and looking at How to Train Your Dragon, I feel a lot of anime decides that, hey, it's rare in anime, and it's becoming less rare, I think, more recently, but I think it was, at one point in time, it was definitely rare in anime to find a show that said, here's a simple premise, let's roll with that. More often than not in anime, it's here's a simple premise, how can we add more to that, though? How can we make this more than what it just is? Like, How to Train Your Dragon, right? I would say, while it's not the focus of the story, or, it's not the focus of the story, I would say the dragons are definitely the unique drawing point to How to Train Your Dragon, right? Yeah. It's a world where dragons are abundant, or is just as abundant as walking outside and finding a cat or dog outside in your backyard that you don't own. It's abundant in that. Dragons are abundant in that nature. They are just like any other regular animal within the world, right?
Yeah, but then again, nobody said just because it's common doesn't mean you can change the tropes of that animal.
Oh, no, sure. But what I'm saying, though, is like the dragons are the draw that's going to draw people in, but it's not necessarily the focus, right? Like, that's my point, essentially.
Yeah, we had an entire episode about that, by the way.
The dragons are just the draw. Like, they're what's going to catch your eye and say, a movie about dragons. I'll watch that because it's about dragons. Dragons are cool. Dragons are unique. Why not watch it? Anime, I feel, would say, okay, sure, you have dragons. What else you got? What else can you throw in there? What else would you do? You have dragons and it's set during Viking times. That's cute. What else do you have? What else can you do? Like, I think that's the thing anime would do. That's the thing anime would approach it with, is how can we add more to that? So, if you want me to say, like, how could you add more to How to Train Your Dragon, then if coming at it from a potential anime idea, then, you could say, okay, dragons are from outer space. That's how you add more to it, right?
That's not anime. That's Michael Bay taking over the reins.
I mean, not really. Michael Bay is just more explosions.
No, it was a joke that he wanted to make the Ninja Turtles aliens at one point.
Well, I know that, but also it's just more explosions for him, though.
Hmm. Yeah, true. Um,
I mean, if you want to make the
anyway,
old shonen joke, right? Like you could have character powers up for 5 episodes straight, then finally we get to the fight, which lasts for another 10 episodes.
yeah, that's Dragon Ball Z,
That's
pretty much.
that's shonen anime, not just Dragon Ball. Like a lot of shonen anime have that
That's
problem.
what I know. That's what I'm going with.
I'm just saying though.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Actually, somebody I don't remember who I was. It was someone from the Valhalla server. I'm not sure who that was. That we were talking about, comparing Avatar: The Last Airbender to anime, and like whoever that person was, again, I don't remember for the life of me, asked me like what are the differences between something like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Dragon Ball. So I said, well, Dragon Ball takes forever to actually go somewhere. Again, if it's a genre or something, and if people like it, good for you. My best friend is a big Dragon Ball fan. I'm not judging. It's just not to my taste. But
It's less like a genre, and it's more just the studio behind it. Like shonen anime is known for
okay,
being much
fair enough.
slower with some of its stuff.
Okay, but the example I gave that person was uh, you you remember the scene in Race of the Edge season 3 in Defenders of the Ring part 1 where Vigo and Hiccup are talking on that island with all the blue oleander.
Hmm.
That that scene goes on for 3 minutes. If it was an anime, it would be 3 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, well, again, it depends. Like anime can be very quick in what it wants to do with its character stuff as well. It depends on the anime essentially. It depends on the studio behind it as well. Like if it was
Yeah,
shonen and it was a fight
that
scene,
person.
then absolutely, yeah, it would last for much
Yeah,
longer than what it needs to.
that person was talking about Dragon Ball in particular. So
Like
I went with that.
as an example, like shonen is notorious for saying this fight happens within 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Over 10 30-minute episodes, did, are dedicated to this fight, and it was just 10 minutes in world time. It's
Yeah,
like
what?
it's it's what you get into with some shows, right? And I love some of the shonen anime, like Naruto Shippuden, One Piece. I love watching them, but anyone who
Even
enjoys
one.
them, like I have to admit, right? Like they're absolutely ridiculous in their time framing and time scales. It's like it's insane. But
Isn't One Piece like on episode 800 or something?
oh man, yes, they're way over 800. It's like 800
Mm.
and almost nearing 850 episodes now, I think.
Oh my. And
The manga's one of the
and
I think the
yeah,
manga
I
for
know
One
that.
Piece is one of the longest running manga there is. Not the longest running, but it's one of. It's
Yeah, but
insane.
okay, but just random question. If it's almost in 850 episodes. How long uh, how long in the show have they been looking for that treasure? I didn't really watch One Piece.
I mean, they're still looking for it. We still not gotten to
Yeah,
the point of
no, I
finding the
mean
One
I mean
Piece.
since the beginning until now.
All 850 episodes have been the journey to find the One Piece. It's just we've
Yeah,
taken
but what I'm asking is that they started the journey at episode 1, let's say. Up
yeah.
until this point, how much time passed in show?
Oh god, I have no clue. Well, I know for a fact like there was a 2-year time skip for the characters,
Uh,
so
okay.
more than 2 years
Mm-hmm.
because the characters had to go off on a training thing and train up to become stronger. So
Okay, so you know what? At
at
least it's
least
a
2 years in
yeah,
time in the
but
show, but
it
more
is
than
kind
that,
of
I'm sure.
accurate. It is kind of accurate then that it's not like 800 episodes and then it's like, oh, we've been on the ocean for 1 week or
Oh
something.
no, no, it's not. Like they've been on the ocean for they've been sailing for a long time. Like it's been again, it's been at least 2 years, probably longer. Like, but it does have those moments in the show as well, though, where again, I come back to that 10-minute 10 minute, 10 minutes passed in the world, but for you as an audience, it was multiple like 20-30 minute episodes that you had to go through just to see that 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Like that is
that's
from One
something.
Piece.
Yeah, that's something that considering arcs in anime. Like arcs in anime take for like I think the short ones are like 10 episodes, and some of the bigger ones are longer than that. And I was talking to a friend about Spectacular Spider-Man ago, and I told her that my favorite arc of the show are the last 4 episodes of season one. And she's like, "An arc is only 4 episodes?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And and there you go. I think that pretty much sums up how much anime takes its time. Not only for the worst though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely right. It depends on the show. Some anime take way too long to get to a certain point, and it shows and it draws, and it's very boring to watch. Some anime are very quick, somewhere in between. It's like with anything else, right? You can have Western shows that take way too long to get to the point, and you have Western shows that can go by way too fast. It really all just depends.
But anyway, to go back to our topic,
Mm.
because we kind of tangent there, which is what we do. But if you were done, what I'll do if I were Japanese, God, I wish, and I had to adapt How to Train Your Dragon to the Japanese market. I think, taking into account what I know about anime, um,
Oh
I
dear.
would probably say, I would probably say, instead of making instead of making it like a trilogy of movies with a spin-off TV show and everything, uh, I'll probably make it the opposite. I'll make it the show first and maybe a spin-off movie every once in a while. You know what I mean?
This is what anime does already most of the
Exactly.
time.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing I'll do is that how maybe so with that said, instead of having Hiccup grow up as the show goes on, maybe like have a series of him as a 15-year-old, and then a series of him as a 20-year-old, and then a third series with him as an even older adult. I have no idea how much older he's supposed to be in Hidden World, but probably a year older. You
It
know,
could be interesting
and
and a lot of fun, and it would
and
give you time to build everything up a way more than what the movies have been
yeah,
able to.
and then because it's a show and you can build it up more, like you said, and again, anime really like to take its time, so maybe try and get more of Viking mythology in there. Like they are doing it as of now with the movies, like the Viking funerals. These are actual Viking funerals, or the betrothal gift is something that happens in Viking culture, and I think also when we see in Riders of Berk, where Hiccup, Stoic and Hiccup have this drawing together. This is something that Viking culture does, but maybe because we are taking the time off, we, you could explore more Viking mythology with these characters, supposedly.
I mean, yeah, you could. You absolutely could. It's just would a uh, anime director do this though, or would a mangaka do this? Because sometimes they're very bad at kind of saying, "I have a general gist of this. I'm just gonna roll with that," and it doesn't always equate to what is actually real or historical, if you will, because it's kind of just the culture over there is very different. Eh.
Actually, let me ask you this. What would you think would work better as an anime? How to Train Your Dragon, the DreamWorks franchise, or How to Train Your Dragon, the books?
Oof. Neither. The movie might be more for it than the
I think
books
the
would.
movie has a bit more potential because they're actually flying on the dragons, and better fight
The
scenes and
books as an
stuff.
anime. That would be interesting to see, but I can't wrap my head around the books as an anime. I just can't wrap my head around that one.
Uh,
That's a hard one to wrap my head around. The books
animators,
as an anime.
animators. Animators who are watching this, do it. You're welcome.
The books as an anime, that's a hard one to wrap your head around. In terms of what you would have to change, in terms of what you think would change and what might stay the same. That's a hard one to see.
I can guarantee you, Toothless taking Alvin's helmet would stay the same if it were an anime.
Mm-hmm. That would most certainly be the same.
Like, they'll change everything, but this specific moment will still be there.
It might end up having more focus on it, but that would be the only thing that would change.
Actually, one other thing I'll say regarding character designs, I was just thinking about, because I saw a video about this not too long ago, that apparently because the main dragon character in this franchise is Toothless, obviously. And what's the main draw of Toothless is that in terms of designs, he's both cute and badass. Reminds you of another. If this reminds you of another dragon character, which I may have referenced in the show, you'll probably think Spyro, and you're correct. What's the main thing they did with Spyro when he was brought to Japan? They made him cuter. So, do you think they'll try and cutify the dragons a bit more?
I don't know how they could for Toothless.
Yeah,
I could
that's a
see
good
it,
point.
right? I could see it, right? I could see them trying to do so. One way might be by making him smaller than what he is, because that would definitely make him more approachable. You know, him being much smaller than what he is, which would actually harken back to the books a bit, since Toothless was actually very small in the books too.
Yeah,
but it's
But then again, it kind of brings the question: how much smaller would you make him?
True. Again, because if you make him too small, you can't ride on him. But at the same time, it's very much what would be done. And again, I think it's the thing for anime you have to remember is it's always about how can you take this draw and be even more unique with it, or how can you make this no longer the draw? Like, how can you make the dragon's background to something else that is the draw, right? Like
another thing I thought about regarding story elements with this, I think that if Hunter and Dragon were an anime, then we would probably get to see the villain Valka storyline.
Probably, because sensibilities are very different in the East compared to the West.
But because I think again, I'm not watching out of, but this is something that happens. Like usually the main villains of anime are the parents, so I can see how Valka would be a villain if this were an anime. Maybe that's what gave Dean the idea. I don't know.
It could be hard to say. I could definitely see
okay.
I could see a lot of things staying the same for the most part, right? And I could definitely see some things potentially changing depending on who does what. But
how would they handle Hickstrid?
More or less the same, I would say. Yeah, again, it would depend on how you go about it, I suppose.
Tentacles, right? More tentacles, please.
Hentai and anime are not the same thing, HC.
I know. I was just kidding. Because let's be honest, if we want to bring this up, somebody else would have.
No, they wouldn't have. You didn't need to. You didn't need to be the one that did it in the show. You could have just let it stay in comments, and we could have just deleted the comments, and then no one would know.
Whatever. People would have brought it up, so I brought it up. End of story. Next category. As you view it in your head.
mean, one thing you do bringing up, since you brought it up, something we should address, like fan service. Do you think that would be a thing? It's not with some, but some anime, it is a thing in anime that happens.
I know.
Do you think it would be a thing?
Something that once the one side of me says no, the side of me who wants to say no, I don't want fan service because I I don't need Astrid to have to be super sexy. I just want her to be a
It
badass.
doesn't have to be just
That's
Astrid. It could be Hiccup who gets fan serviced up as well. And I mean, to be fair,
true,
the movie
but
does give us a lot of shots of Hiccup's ass.
yeah. Uh, okay, you say that about Hiccup, but here's the thing. I'm a male, so personally, I'm not attracted to Hiccup.
I mean, you can be a guy and be attracted to Hiccup. Being
I
male
know,
doesn't exclude you
I
from being
know,
attracted to another male.
I know, but it's harder to tell if
I get it. I get where you're coming. I get what you mean and where you're coming
this
from.
is
Like,
going in a
you're straight.
this
You're
is
straight, and so you're not attracted to Hiccup.
mhm.
You don't have to
Uh,
be gay in order to be attracted to Hiccup, but I do get it. You're not, so
yeah,
it's not something that
like
affects you. But still,
it's
yeah,
just mhm.
the
like
movie
I
does give
like
us
I get
shots of
I get
Hiccup's
one.
ass.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of shots of says as people on Tumblr have proved us. By the way, good luck with that lot, Tumblr. Good luck. But anyway, I again as a straight male, like I'm not saying that Hiccup isn't. Okay, I'm digging this hole way too
Keep
much.
going.
I'm
I'm
going to
loving
stop.
this. I'm loving it. Keep going.
No, you're you're digging a lot more holes for me. I have enough problems dodging those, so I'm not going to make my life harder. But
Gobble fan service, though, HC.
no. Okay, before this show, we had to talk. We had to talk about projecting stuff. Why are you trying to project your wants onto me,
That's
Wolf?
not wants. That's not wants at all. It'd only be a
Yes,
want
it
if
is.
it'd only be a want if it was Gobber and Stoic fan service together. Then it's a want.
Please tell me they heard that I in the recording. Okay, whatever. Anyway, fan service will probably be there. I don't
It
necessarily
probably
need it
wouldn't be.
or want it.
It probably again. It
It
depends on
dep-
the show and who does it. Very much, essentially.
yeah.
I guess one thing to ask, like, for anime does tend to do this sometimes. Would you have this be even more character focused than it is, and kind of take away the idea of villains entirely?
Well, I won't necessarily say take away the idea entirely. On the actually, you know what? And since I mentioned that, if we are going to assume this is going to be more of a show and have spin-off films, then more character development will probably just happen as is because we have more time frame to work with. We have more stories to work. Therefore, there would be more character development if it will go for a show, another film.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so moving on. As you view it in your head, how much will something like this be censored in America?
Um, Not very much. It depends.
Yeah. Again, this is kind of a question I figured we can't really say because this thing doesn't exist. But then again, the franchise as is has gone a lot worse than what usual animated movies will get or shows would get away with. Like Hiccup losing a leg, and then the main character's best friend kills the main character's father, and the show, and Astrid having that arrow stuck in her leg. That's These are things that you don't normally see in American TV, in American animation. So I can't really tell you what would be censored and what not. But at the same time, I'm sure that because it will be made in Japan and aiming for a different marketing and different audiences, there will probably be some changes and some cuts that will seem weird.
It's possible. I guess it depends on the audience they aim it at, right? Like, it's very much like How to Train Your Dragon is very much aimed at a younger audience, if they did it from Japan specifically to start with, and it was, anime and all of that, it might not be aimed at a younger audience. It might be aimed at an older audience. It depends on what they want to go for, essentially.
Yeah. Then, and on that note of censoring in America, I'd like to say, thank God 4Kids is gone. Do you have anything to add on to that? Because I think we pretty much covered it all.
We can move on.
Okay. Okay, I'm not really familiar with this one, but hey, let's ask anyway. Maybe
You're
you
about to
know
ask a
better than
question,
me.
and the answer is no, I don't.
So you don't have any Japanese think will fit some of the characters?
You want to repeat that again? You broke up.
Oh,
Just so people can hear
Japanese
you for the recording.
So Japanese voice actors who you think will fit the characters?
See, this is where I make a lot of people mad at me. As a weeb, I don't keep up. I don't keep up with American VAs either, so I can't. So it's not exactly or actors even for that matter. So no actors or VAs whatsoever are people that I keep up with. I can tell you. I can't tell you the names of VAs. I could tell you the character that the voice of the character.
Voice.
I can tell you that. So I could say the voice of Roy Mustang, Japanese VA wise, would probably be interesting to hear coming from Stoic. I think that could fit pretty well.
You know something? Reaching this category. I'm so bummed that I didn't ask Hadek if she wants to be in this episode. She would probably have a ball with this.
Oh yeah, she would definitely know way more than I would about the VA side of things, at the very least. I'm sure. But I can't say
I'll ask her about this afterwards if she has some recommendations. Anyway, I will say that I have two choices that are not necessarily the ideal choices to play Hiccup, but I just have them in my mind. Okay, boy. Don't worry. Okay, one is the guy, I don't know his name, but it's the guy that voices Sora in the Kingdom Hearts games. I think his voice could be fitting for Hiccup,
The Japanese VA?
Yeah, the Japanese VA.
Okay. Yeah.
And now of course, HC would say this, but I have a point here. So hear me out. Hear me out, Wolf. Please hear me out. Don't judge. Don't sigh. Let me get the point across.
Go for it. I've not said anything yet.
But you will, so I'm preparing you.
Probably.
Okay, another choice that I think could fit Hiccup is Junichi Kanemaru. If that name sounds familiar to you, then you're probably playing the same type of games as I am. And what I mean by that is that, yes, this is Sonic's Japanese voice actor. Now hear me out. Before you say anything, hear me out. The interesting thing about Junichi, from what I hear him as Sonic, is that he kind of has two voices for him. One is the happy-go-lucky, cynical voice that you can kind of associate with this character, and the other is a bit deeper but still pretty teenagery, calm voice, which is meant for all the serious moments and the quieter moments. And I think this could work well for Hiccup, especially because Hiccup is sarcastic, kind of like that other character. So I see how that could work, especially if he's not dubbing over, if he's recording, if he's voicing the character from scratch, because it will be made in Japan. I can see him work as a different interpretation of the character. The Japanese own take on this. Just something I thought of, not related to my bias, I swear. Just thought it would be an interesting idea to share. And also, it will be kind of funny to hear Hiccup suddenly talk English, even though it's Japanese. That's it. Judge me.
Fair enough. Actually, this is something you could listen to already. I don't. Is there Japanese voiceover for How to Train Your Dragon for the movies? I would love to hear that. It's not something I've ever actually went
Yeah,
out of my way to listen to, but I'd love to hear it.
that's something I was about to bring up. I'm not sure. Actually, you know what? Hold on a second. Hold on. You might hear some noises here. It's because I know I have this somewhere. Where is it? Not here. Okay, there it is. The How to Train Dragon Blu-ray. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, there's English, Russian, German, Romanian, Ukrainian, Hebrew, Estonian, Latvian. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing anything. Lithuanian, and commentary. Well, there's no Japanese on my Blu-ray anyway.
I found it. There is a Japanese. There is a Japanese cast for the first movie at least. I don't know about the second movie, but I do have the cast for the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't list everyone, but it does list Masahiko Tanaka for Stoic, Hiroshi. I'm gonna probably butcher all these names, so please forgive me. Hiroshi Iwasaki for Gabber, Minako
Who's Hiccup?
Hayato Taya.
Can you check what he did?
I am now. He was in Eden of the East as Haru Kasuga. He was in Ultimate Spider-Man apparently as Spider-Ham. And he also did Disney's Recess as Vince LaSalle.
Okay, I never watched Recess, but thinking about...
He's done Hiccup for both movies, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he was Pence in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, so I was close in a sense.
He was the Japanese VA for him. This is a guy who I've never heard of. So, yeah, no clue.
I'm still stuck on that Spider-Ham bit. Okay.
He's not done a lot at all.
Okay. But hey, he still has a resume.
Spider-Ham. Okay. That's his resume.
Yeah. Man, I really want to make a mashup now.
I should mention, Stoic's Japanese VA is also the same VA that did Dot Pixis from Attack on Titan, so that's definitely, I would say, a good pick.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so we'll probably all check the other Japanese voice actors at another time, but
I'm sure.
Here's a question, because do you think in a How to Train Dragon anime made in Japan, do you think the dragons would talk?
Oh, absolutely.
You didn't even need to think about it. Oh yeah.
Absolutely, that would be the case. No doubt in my mind that would be a thing that could be possible. Would it be done by every single animation company out there? No, I'm sure some would have them be silent, but absolutely I would expect. Again, it kind of goes back to that there's always more thing, right? Like anime always does. Sure, this is a neat idea. How can we add more to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like absolutely anime would, the dragons would talk in anime. Maybe they wouldn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Well, that's also kind of a thing that actually think about it, because one of the main draws of the franchise now is that how they manage to build that strong of a connection between a character that talks and a character that doesn't talk. So on the one hand, giving Toothless the ability to talk would be pretty odd.
I think they would try and be like very unique with it, like
but at the same time, like I read this fan fiction someone on Berk's phone posted once. I'm not sure about the name, but it's called To Boldly Flee. That's one thing I do remember.
It's called what now? Repeat the name.
To Boldly Flee.
To Boldly Flee. Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at attachmentfiction.net, you'll probably find it. But anyway, the thing I remember from this specific fanfiction is that it's one of those what-if scenarios if Hiccup did manage to run away in the first movie and, take Astrid with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing the guy did there, the guy or girl, I'm not sure. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. The thing the writer did with that story is that Toothless did talk, but it was kind of a telepathic talk. He talks to Hiccup telepathically, and he also chooses who to talk to. Like he can't he can talk to Hiccup and later on Astrid, but he can't talk to like Stuick, for example, or anyone else they might meet along the way. You know what I mean?
Okay. I was gonna say I was getting another particular fanfiction vibes from this, but now it's changed. Never mind. But I'm sure it might have been the inspiration for this somewhat. I wouldn't be surprised, considering this particular fanfiction's proliferation within the fandom.
Okay,
Like,
fair enough.
yeah, like I was gonna say, I was gonna suggest something similar along to the lines of what you said, and I wouldn't be surprised, knowing the author somewhat, if she got this idea from anime as well. But Hitchups, right, does something similar where Hiccup and Toothless can communicate with one another, except for them, it's very much as their bond with one another grows stronger, they can listen to and hear each other's thoughts more clearly and understand each other and communicate with one another telepathically because of the bond, right?
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if an anime of How to Train Your Dragon did something like that, right? Like, as the characters grow and grow to understand each other and learn more about each other within their relationship, and their bond develops and forms that much more, then they can start to hear each other's thoughts. And
Okay.
I could see anime doing that, starting off from a standpoint of zero communication whatsoever to hearing bits and pieces or words here and there, and then finally you're getting full-on conversations between the two as you get closer and closer to the end of things, to show like the growth of their bond and them as and their relationship with one another. I could absolutely see that being a thing.
Okay, so the way I see it, I already said maybe like like there might be like a telepathic connection.
Yeah, sure.
Or maybe make it. I had an idea which kind of disappeared. Maybe make communication with a dragon something that the characters will have to earn. A skill that they'll have to learn as they grow and build a connection with the dragon.
So we're in an RPG now.
Well, the most famous RPGs of Japan. So
I mean, it's not just that. Like, animes have done that as well, like being set within games. So that's perfectly a thing that's possible.
Yeah.
There's an interesting idea. How to Train Your Dragon is a game, and people are stuck within the game. Hiccup is actually not like real life Hiccup is very different from in-game Hiccup.
That's actually a pretty cool idea.
That's why he has the name Hiccup. It's all a game, and so it's a game based on dragons and Vikings, and so he named himself Hiccup.
Yeah,
but that does
we'll
mean
need to find another name that starts with H.
That does mean, right, that you could that does put a dampener in the whole stoic as his dad thing, unless his dad plays the game with him, which would be kind of cool. And then you see like his dad and mom are completely estranged, and he finds his mom through this game because she apparently plays the game too. Holy shit.
God.
This is fan fiction right here. Here you go, fan fiction writers. You are welcome. Once more, great ideas from yours truly.
Listen to this. Go for it. Please, 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 please make this.
Nothing but the best ideas here from the Berkcast.
Okay, I actually, something. I would have probably need to mention this earlier, but if we're on the dragons topic, so the one thing that Japan kind of needs to have is some sort of a big robot thing that they
No,
have, but this is Vikings,
no,
so we can't have robots.
no,
So what
no,
if all the dragons are
no.
like, you know what? You see where I'm going with this?
I do, and no, no. But finish, just in case there are people in the audience, from our listeners who don't. Go ahead.
Okay, so all the dragons will get to Mega Dragon.
Oh boy.
Hey, Japan gives Spider-Man a robot. Your argument is not veiled.
Yeah, it is.
Whatever.
Again, I say
Anyway,
no to this idea, but
yeah, sure.
eh.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you know something? We just brought
you're
up the
not
best
wrong.
freaking idea.
You're
We
not
just
wrong.
brought up the. We just brought up the best freaking idea of having everyone read through this
But I
game.
mean, if you
So
want to, right, like How to Train Your Dragon as a mecha anime, then Toothless would obviously be a robot, and Hiccup would be the pilot. But that's if you want to do mecha anime.
Hanjo.
Oh dear.
Okay. That was the only attempt to speak Japanese in this episode. I am
It'd be
sorry,
really.
and we'll move on.
That would be a really weird. That would be another weird setup though, because you'd have to some way like set it up to where Stoic is very much against Hiccup being a mecha pilot, and Hiccup wants to be a mecha pilot, and apparently mechas attack their colony, or because mostly obviously mechas set in space,
You
so
know something?
their space
I
colony gets
haven't.
attacked by mecha all the time, and Hiccup wants to be a mecha pilot. That'd be so weird.
Oh
Would the
my
mechas
god.
be sentient?
You're asking me way too many questions.
I mean, you're the one that brought up the idea of mecha.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm the one who says if this is sentient or not. So no, I don't know. Don't ask me. Let's move on. Because you need to answer something for me, if you don't
Yes.
mind.
I've been
Okay,
waiting for
so
this one. This is gonna be fun.
that last part of the script, this is Wolf's idea. If
You're
there's
welcome, by the
any
way,
kind,
ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, my psychologist would thank you very much because I'll have to see him for.
He would, because this is a great, fun show to watch. He would say,
But
HC,
anyway,
you're right, you needed to recommend this to HC because he needed this, because this is just fun
sure,
and wholesome.
that's your. Mhm. So this is your fan service, not mine. But anyway, do you think there's anything that might fill in for that idea? Like if there's an anime that you could point at and say this is a How to Train Dragon, the closest to a How to Train Dragon anime that we're ever going to get. Wolf has something to say. So
Before we get
all
into the one you
the-
did watch,
okay, so talk about the one I didn't watch, and
this is the
we'll see
one
from
that I would say is the closest to like what we would see as a How to Train Your Dragon anime, and that's Dragon Pilot Hison and Masotan. I definitely recommend going and watching that anime because it's, again, first off, it's a show that very much from moment one, episode one, knows exactly what it is and what it wants to be, and it's just silly fun, ridiculous, nonsensical fun. So go watch it, but it's the closest I think you're going to get to How to Train Your Dragon anime, and it does the regular anime thing of how can we take dragons and do something more with that, because it's an anime that is dragons in the modern day world, except the dragons can't be seen because obviously dragons, no one wants to know dragons exist apparently, so we gotta hide the dragons. So how do we hide the dragons? Well, we turn them into fighter jets, and we get people to pilot them. How do we get people to pilot the fighter jets? Well, you have to be eaten by the dragon and pilot the dragon from inside of the dragon after being eaten. A fun show, ladies and gentlemen, I assure you.
do I comment?
The reason I say this one is very much like How to Train Your Dragon is because it's very much the bond between the pilot and the between Hisone and Masutan, the main pilot and the main dragon, you can see, Hisone is very much, she starts off as a character who is unsure of where she stands in life and unsure of where she wants to go and who she wants to be and her place in the world. And Masutan as the dragon does help her find that, right? By the end of the show. And it's like a 13 episode run on Netflix if you're curious. Go watch it. Very fun. But yeah, it's so I recommend it, and I say this is the closest thing because that's pretty much exactly what How to Train Your Dragon is. Hiccup is unsure of his place in the world and unsure of where he, and by the end of the first movie is kind of by a part of the first movie is kind of unsure of who he wants to be, where he wants to go, and what he wants to do, and Toothless helps him find that. So I would recommend Dragon Pilot because that's exactly what it does too, except it very much, for Hiccup, it's very much, I feel, facing kind of a younger teenager's problems. For Dragon Pilot, it's very much Hisone is an adult. She's in her 20s, even though the art style doesn't exactly get that across very well. She is much older, and so she definitely has to deal with a lot more of an adult's problems, right? And there's definitely some more adultish themes that are tackled. But again, it definitely still has that overture of this is ridiculous, nonsensical fun. So don't take it too seriously.
Okay.
And it could, because it's not going to take a deep dive into things. So don't expect that. But it does have some stuff there that's, worth the time, I would say. But yeah, it's definitely, I recommend it because it follows that same kind of development for their two main characters. One helps the other kind of figure out who they are and where they belong.
Okay, fair enough. Now,
this one's a bit different.
I would just like to point out that Wolf sent me links to watch both shows. I only had time to watch one, but I'm watching this show, which will say what the name of it is in a bit. And I have so many questions, so please explain to me, how does this fill the quota for How to Train Your Dragon? Please.
For me, right, it's definitely not quite the same as... the name of the show is Kobayashi's Dragon, is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maiden, for those who are wondering. And absolutely, Miss Kobayashi kind of knows who she is and where she fits into the world, right? So it's not so much recommended for the idea that Toru, the name of the dragon, helps Miss Kobayashi find out where she fits into the world. I recommend it because it is very much like it's mostly just one reason. It mostly just boils down to dragons. It has dragons in the title. It is about dragons.
So there you go.
Why.
So it has a dragon. It counts as How to Train Your Dragon.
But I would say,
nice.
Let me finish.
Good job.
That's I can't sit here and tell you that's not part of the reason, because it is. But another reason I would say that it relates to How to Train Your Dragon is because it is, both of these characters, the dragon character and Miss Kobayashi as the human character, they do help each other grow and learn and come to understand one another, and through doing so, their relationship with one another, their bond with one another grows that much stronger, right? And in that sense, I think that's the same as How to Train Your Dragon, except for How to Train Your Dragon's case, it focuses on Hiccup's growth and understanding and how the bond helps him, but it never focuses on how that bond helps Toothless. And this is something I think an anime How to Train Your Dragon might do is, and this is why I would say, right, like, Toothless might be able to talk in an anime version of How to Train Your Dragon as well, or at least communicate with Hiccup anyways, because that way you get to focus on not just Hiccup's character, but as well as Toothless's character. So I think Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid is akin to How to Train Your Dragon, but also unique from it because it focuses on the dragon character as well as the human character, and how they both grow and learn from being close to one another and from, being in a relationship together.
Okay. Fair enough.
And and because I know many people are going to point it out, I don't mean romantic relationship, because Miss Kobayashi isn't in love with Toru, but it probably will become a romantic relationship at some point because Toru is definitely in love with Miss Kobayashi.
Yeah, I was about to say the dragon has the heart for the human in
Like
this.
she outright says, "I love you, please marry me," consistently throughout the show many times. She wants Miss Kobayashi to marry her. This is not something the show shies away from at all.
Like even I didn't even get to that part. Like as soon as there was that flashback in the first episode where Kobayashi tells her, "Hey, do you want to come to my apartment?" and she's so happy. I'm like, okay, that's all I need.
It's definitely, both of these shows are very cute and adorable, though, I feel, and they're very kind of wholesome in what they try to tackle.
I will tell you this: there's a part in the opening for Kobayashi that, like, we just see a bunch of people floating in the air and like spinning their bodies with their arms open, like they're helicoptering themselves upwards.
That's just
Like,
the show being weird. That's the intro.
yeah,
It
I know,
has no
but
bearing on anything, I should say.
okay, so it plays no part in the story of this
That's just
show.
the intro being the intro. Like, again, it's fun.
Okay.
That's the whole point. It's meant to be
But
more
I will tell you
nonsensical
this:
fun.
if somebody animated all the Berkians doing
Oh
this,
no.
I would laugh my ass off because, man, I saw this and like I told Wolf before we started, if we want to do an outcast or a reaction to this, it will probably just be a few minutes of me going, what, what. This will be the part where it starts.
Fair enough.
Or just see the Pennywise from it going, they float, they all float.
Fair enough.
I think that's pretty much it. Do you have anything to add?
Go watch Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid and go watch Dragon Pilot Hison and Masutan. They're both really fun shows.
Okay, so with that recommendation, that's it for this episode. See How to Train a Dragon working as an anime. Whatever your thoughts are, you can tell us all about this in the comment section below, on our Tumblr where we are known as Berkcast Team, on our Twitter where we are known as Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and you can find all of us on the How to Train a Dragon Valhalla Discord server. So until next time, I was HC.
I've been Wolf, and since I'm definitely not the best example of a good weeb, if you have any ideas, if you have any recommendations for shows that are much more akin to How to Train Your Dragon than what I recommended, give me a shout out because I'm always looking for more stuff to watch and try out, so why not?
So with that said, take care.
And goodbye.